nothing left to fear. My work was never done. I'm barely even here. Fell down when I just begun. Yet I stayed determined. Yes, I stayed determined. And I'll stay determined to the end. No flowers for my soul. My followers are lost. Yet all the lives I stole weren't enough for the final cost. Yet I stay determined. Yes, I stay determined. And I'll stay determined to the end. Am I fading away again? Will this darkness The man who speaks in hands destroyed my one mistake. But if you speak to sands, then you'll see what he tried to break. Then I stay determined. Yes, I stay determined. And I'll stay determined to the end.
Hey, Jay, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to another comment stream. I'm
Yeah,
excited to be here with you guys. I was just thinking it's really funny that like the musical ends and then we come up and you can't see any of the three of us in that musical.
I was just thinking that.
I'm like, what a weird thing that then like you switch over and you get to hang out with us, but
That's
you
right.
know, it's not that we weren't there, or it's not that I wasn't there.
I was there
I
for the
there.
duet version.
You were there for the duet
Yeah,
version,
I
and
mean-
you were actually. This is another role that you almost were playing. And
Almost. But I'm actually trying to remember. I remember
was it originally, or was it the
No,
reshoot we talked
the
about?
reshoot. And I think
Okay.
what happened was you and I had planned to get together for dinner or something like a few nights after the original shoot.
Yeah.
And then the night that I came over ended up being the day you needed to do the reshoot. And I didn't even really know it till I showed up. And then I ended up helping out on set.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, welcome. We will get down to the nitty gritty about Determined to the End, which is a really weird random encounter song, I think. But you guys picked it over on our comments poll to talk about today, and we pulled a bunch of comments, 10 of them, 11 of them, if I'm being honest, that we're going to go over, and also some questions from you guys. Before we get too far in, though, I think we have a couple moderators in the chat maybe today.
I think they're both there, yep.
Great. Please respect them. They're longtime fans as well. They were here probably around the same time that musical came out, and yeah, so they're very cool people, and you guys are too, though, so I know you're not going to give them any trouble in there. Yeah, so I guess without further ado, we could jump into the comments. What we were kind of talking about, though, I mentioned a reshoot.
We did.
And what you just watched was the second version of Determined to the End.
I was trying to figure out, is this the only musical that actually had a complete reshoot?
It might be. I'm like, have we ever filmed an entire second
I don't
time?
think we have. I know we have other musicals where we decided to make them better and more interesting, but they weren't necessarily like. The thing that comes to mind is like the C plus shanty.
Yeah, that's what
Like none of that pirate stuff was originally even planned at all.
That's true.
But we filmed a lot of the on location park stuff of us like catching sea bass and
Yeah.
stuff, and we're like, this just needs something more.
Yeah.
So we still used that original footage, but we spiced it up with the pirate stuff as well.
Yeah,
But
whereas this one, there is maybe one shot from the original recording that made it into the final version, and everything else is a reshoot. So I think this one wins so far as ever reshooting an entire musical a second time. which is crazy. And
Hopefully
I guess
we'll
we could,
never do it again.
yeah, hopefully not. It wasn't convenient, and we could talk more about it if you guys have questions about that. But I'll just jump right into.
Before you do that, speaking of questions,
Oh.
if you have a question for us,
Sure.
make sure you put the word question in all caps, but also we are only answering questions about this musical today. So if you have a question about something else, save it for a Friday live stream. Otherwise, we'll get to as many things about this musical as we can.
That's right. It's determined to the ends day.
That's right.
Man, this musical came out, what, 2015, 2016?
2016, I think.
Yeah, 2016, because you were there,
Because
right?
I
so-
got
I was
here
like, wait a minute.
2016, and it had come out that year.
Yeah, so it's really funny. Some of these comments are pretty old comments. Some of them are more recent comments, too. And it's kind of fun that on YouTube you can find a mixture of both. So I'm going to read comment number 10 from Emmy Orange? Emmy Orange. I can't.
Emmy Orange.
I know. You have a difficult name. I'm sorry. The comment is, I didn't know Random Encounters made an Undertale song, all in caps. Random Encounters didn't just make one Undertale song. We've made a couple now.
It's true. This isn't even the first Undertale song on
That's
the
right.
channel.
Yeah.
The first one was, of course, the Fates of Undertale.
I was going to say, that's the more obvious Undertale song. This one's almost, you wouldn't know it's an Undertale song. And I think there are other comments about that. Gaster is not a well-known character in Undertale. And we were feeling bold, and I know Gaster came up a lot on game theory and things like that as part of the like lore beneath the surface. So it seemed like a good time to
I'm gonna say at this point we've also like tangentially made 2 Deltarune songs as
which
well.
have Undertale characters in them. So
So-
yeah, we've done a lot with this universe now. 4 times, I think, to be exact.
Oh, this is a fitting comment for me to read.
Yeah.
Sort of. Number 9 from Jelly Pout. Is this the same room as Sonic Boom? Why, yes, it is my egg base.
Egg lair?
Egg lair.
Egg prison? I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, it was what? There's like a weird just metal bunker shed in the back of the old place we used to live
We
at.
called it the Technodrome.
There you go.
That's what we
They're
called
gonna.
it.
No one's gonna know what the Technodrome is.
Well, is that still a Ninja Turtles thing, or did they abandon the Technodrome at some point?
it was in the bad second movie.
Yeah,
Sort
it was.
of. Like.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I don't remember enough about those movies. I try not to remember them so much. The Technodrome. Yeah, we filmed a bunch of projects in there. If you watch the Vaults of Fallout as well, that's filmed in the same space. Really was useful. I kind of miss that place.
Yeah, it was nice.
We moved back in 2016 and we haven't had it since.
Yeah, we have just a garage.
Sonic Boom was your first time in the Technodrome too, wasn't it?
It was like I feel like one of my only times in there as well.
That's a good point because we moved
Like
so quickly
they
after.
flew me out for Sonic Boom, yeah, and I helped like decorate it and played Eggman, and then went back home to New York. And then when I moved out here, you did the duet version of this song, and then I don't feel like we filmed
Leighton didn't have
anything in that before we ended up moving.
Yeah, Team Full Harmony didn't film there. So.
Yeah, so
Yeah, really limited.
It was a really cool set. I was actually sad to see it go. Like, it would have made a perfect bunker for like 60 seconds.
and we
Oh,
said
yeah.
that when we made that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, like 60 seconds would do great here.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Maybe one day we'll get another bunker like that. It was just really, I think it was designed for like pulling boats or campers or something into and parking. It had like a nice
Yeah.
big sliding door. Yeah, but we don't have one of those here. We have a cool backyard now for other things like we filmed Goose on Holiday on it and stuff like that.
The bunker was where
cemetery
you
for
almost
the
died.
day that you died. Yeah. Speaking of dying, I almost died in the Technodrome. I almost got hit with a brick there, and that's in our YouTube horror stories.
Pretty
All right,
sure.
Gwen, we're on comment number 8.
I believe so.
8.
From Wonderland Freak. I love this song and that it has a Phantom of the Opera feel to it. W.D. Gaster is an extremely cool character / Easter egg, and the lore around him is very interesting. I like that you think it has a Phantom of the Opera
I
feel
know
to
that's
it.
kind of a.
I mean, I think it helps that he's in like the mask and the suit, and like so it
Yeah.
already kind of
Yeah,
leans
you
into
have a
that
little bit of
Phantom
the-
thing. But it definitely does also, like, I hear it in the piano. I hear it in the like I don't know, the bass that's in this is a very Phantom kind of bass.
Yeah, this is, I think, a good example of a haunting song on Random Encounters.
Yes.
Like, from the ground up, it was constructed to be both kind of like a nice beat that you like really lean into without being aggressive or driving. And unusual for Random Encounters, it's not really empowering either. It kind of leaves you feeling a little bit like woeful and helpless, I think, throughout it. It's like, it's got a little bit, it's funny because it's a song about determination, but you feel a little like it's a hopeless situation that you'll always need determination. It's kind of like counter to what you would think, but and I think Phantom of the Opera can have that at points too, where there's something just dark about it, that hangs in the air, for the entirety of it. So, yeah, I do think the costume though, especially, is like that's a really good parallel to be like feels a little like something from Phantom of the Opera.
It does, and honestly, I hadn't thought about it before, but now I like this song even more. This has always been one of my favorite Random Encounter songs. I think it's just really, it hits that right note for me of being kind of dark, but not like grungy dark, like moody dark. That's like my favorite kind of song. So
this is one where I think the instrumentation stands up too, which maybe I'm getting into the nitty gritty, but there are some old Random Encounter songs that sound very like phony instruments on a computer, like they sound digitized and not very lush and stuff like that.
Dated.
Yeah. Some of them just don't feel up to snuff of today's standards with like orchestras and electric guitars and stuff like that. But this one actually, I feel like a lot of the instrumentation does kind of work because it's a synthy kind of thing with like a nice piano.
I agree.
Do we want to jump into the chat for?
I have pulled a couple of things.
Oh dang, that was pretty quick. Usually we have to struggle a little to get questions from
These
you guys.
guys are great today. There's a question about the editing process from Rebecca Scowcroft. Specifically, was it the most difficult part of this musical, since obviously there's a lot of cuts back and forth with the characters. And I remember when we were filming on set, there was a lot of like, okay, don't move anything, quick swap Frisk in for Gaster, or swap Gaster in for Frisk, or like don't touch anything, but quick move something.
The editing is pretty straightforward, and part of the reason it was straightforward was because we put in the work and on the production side with the camera to make sure everything would match. And so honestly, that was just fun. It was just fun to basically have two clips lined up that were identical and decide when you wanted to jump between them. So I don't know. I found it really easy actually to edit once we reshot it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is what makes people like TikTok transitions so much, is that like satisfaction of lining up like the exact same image but letting it swap to something else. And this musical is just full of that. So the editing, at least from this side of it, looked fun.
Yeah, it's a lot simpler than you might think. Like, it seems complicated, but it's all the complication is on the front side of it. And once you get it into the editing bay, it really is just like try different cuts and see how they look. And if you don't like it, move it back and try here instead. So yeah, it was really like playing with it at that point.
Luna Skies asked, how long did it take to record the musical, since we talked about both reshoots and the original? So overall, I believe it was still only over 2 days, because you did the original shoot on one day and then the reshoot on one day?
It was a last-second project to begin with. So this, you would think it'd take longer for having filmed it twice. The song, I think, took about 3 days, but it was a fairly simple song. So it was probably about 3 days to get basically a song together. The lyrics probably took the majority, actually, still. And I think then we basically had 1 week to finish the video side of it. So it was going to be a total of about 10, 12 days tops, probably. And that first film shoot we thought was going to be fairly easy, and then we got back the footage and it wasn't working at all. And so we had to kind of plan a reshoot, and that was a little bit tricky because it took persuading some of the people to be in it a second time, which is funny because they lived and worked with us, and with me, I should say.
Yeah.
It was still, it's the only time I ever asked, can we just redo this? You know what? I thought of another one. We reshot the Brony song too. That one got entirely reshot as well. I forgot.
And then you released the first version anyway?
We did, yeah. So that one actually does have 2 cuts as well, and both of them are actually on YouTube. So, not the first time. Sorry, I was wrong. This is the second musical that had to be completely refilmed. But this one, like, it felt different. The Brony song, too, was filmed at a convention, and the convention didn't turn out the way we thought it would and stuff. So we tried a second convention and did the same idea. This one needed it. It was weird because we'd never realized, even after we'd finished filming, how badly it was going to end up playing until looking at it and going, no, this needs a lot of changes.
Yeah, and you can see in the bloopers for this, I think you can see shots from the original shoot, and you can tell they're from the original shoot because Sparrow did her hair slightly differently. In the original shoot, she tried to pin it up to make it look shorter, like Frisk.
Yeah. Frisk.
And sorry, there's something about making it like possessive that I was like, what is the S's and K's going on?
Yeah.
But so she did her hair slightly differently for the first one, and then on the second one she was like, I'm just going to do it down. Let's just have an easier shoot, which I think makes total sense when you're doing something for the second time. But it's interesting the choices that were made between the first one and the second one, and the things you can kind of weasel out from the bloopers and be like, oh, maybe this was the direction it was going.
Yeah.
I don't think we have the original footage anymore, right?
I don't remember. I can't tell you that. I haven't gotten to that archiving point in RE history still. But the hair is one of the reasons I know we talked about having you do the role the second
That's
time
true.
on the reshoot.
Because
Sparrow didn't really want to do a reshoot, and
Yeah.
you were completely game, and you had short hair.
I did.
And then she kind of popped in at the last second and was like,
Well,
let's...
I think both of us looked at each other with a little bit of a panic because, like, I obviously had, I think I said earlier, I just thought I was coming over to, like, hang out. And, like, it wasn't that I wouldn't have done it, but, like, it got kind of thrown out there as, like,
You were always game.
like, I was.
You're
I
game
was.
for everything.
That would have been my second ever musical, though. It was still early days for when I was around.
Yeah, I think you kind of helped convince her to take that, actually, because she knew it was going to get reshot with somebody else.
It's true.
If she didn't say yes to reshooting it, so that
It's
kind of
true.
pushed her over the line to go, okay.
Yeah. For Gaster's mask, Awesome Destroyer wants to know if we made it or bought it. If I remember correctly, that one was a
Bought and made?
bought white mask with the design
Yeah.
painted on.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of discussion about how well it matched the original game, and it was an interesting. Undertale in general is an interesting costuming conundrum because everything in it is 8-bit. So all of the costumes and the design choices and all those things, like, they're roughly there, and then you have to, like, fill in the blanks and, like, decide for yourself what else is going on.
Yeah. And you didn't do the costuming on this one either.
I didn't,
So.
but I feel very much for the decisions I had to go.
Oh,
into
we got a
this.
special guest. It's WD Gaster right here.
I was like, I'm
for
pretty
us.
sure we still have this.
Yeah,
It's
we
true.
do.
Oh,
So
it
there you go.
wasn't
You
even
can...
a white mask. It was a black mask that got entirely painted.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Well,
Wow.
it has lasted.
Well, there
which
you
is
go.
exciting.
You can. It's got mesh on the inside to kind of keep from seeing eyes through it, and
Yep.
yeah, it's kind of creepy. I don't know why people make these masks.
Serial killers.
Yeah, people like us need them for videos and serial killers. Those are the core demographic buying these masks, I think.
I think we just answered 3 from the chat. So how about we
Okay.
go back over here? I'm
Sure.
still hanging on to some things, guys.
Sure. But keep asking questions, especially as we bring things up that are interesting to you.
Yeah.
Comment number 7 from Daniel Kearns. This is a pretty good Gaster song. Love how you just kept his little motif going in the background. Yeah, I actually had to go back and check that. I was like, did we do that? Is that like his little... So I like looked up. I was like, oh yeah, we did. Okay, so it's got this like... It's very Lavender Town.
Yeah, I checked that as well. Yeah, somebody said that.
Yeah.
There was a comment.
I had to double check and make sure. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so it is. There's like the music from like the True Lab or whatever in Undertale that is kind of Gaster's theme. And that was kind of the basis of like, can we do like a creepy piano song that has a little bit of that like scaling going on? So yeah, good catch. I had to double check. I was like, I don't remember. Did we do that? So good on past AJ for doing that.
All right. Number 6. Oh, this is from a prince.
Number 6.
From Prince Seth, the Scaleless. He doesn't have any scales.
No,
Okay.
well,
That's good to know.
That's a good scale for it.
I'm aware Gaster is an enigma and all, but just out of curiosity, how lore accurate is this song?
I mean, everything with Frisk feels not very lore accurate. So cut half of the video off, basically, and other than Frisk exploring a lab, probably that's not really accurate. I guess you're in control, Frisk, so if you want to go mess around with everything in the lab, you could. But the Gaster stuff is a little bit of a combination. There are a lot of like vague references that I think you could take as like links into the actual lore of the game. So Gaster is actually a scientist. Gaster was experimenting with determination, did some kind of awful things with the goal of being able to harness determination and stuff. Used flowers and stuff as part of the testing. Like, there are a lot of references there that actually are kind of... The biggest jump, I think, is there's a reference to a machine Sans tried to break. And that is more of a jump. There's, I think, a broken machine in Sans's lab in Snowden. Gosh, this is like... It's heavy stuff. And they don't really get into it a lot, I feel like. And everybody expected them to get more into it. but the game leaves it kind of ambiguous. But it seems that maybe Gaster and Sans and possibly even Papyrus were somehow involved in some experimentation and scientific stuff way back, and that part of Gaster's like disappearance was something going wrong and things like that. But there's also, I think, some implications that maybe they weren't always on the same page about what was ethical or stuff like that. So MapPad did some interesting theories about Gaster, and they were obviously kind of popular at the same time as our song was. So I think that would be interesting to go back and look and see how many of those connections might actually still kind of make sense, but more from a fan theory standpoint. I wish I had a more concrete
I guess
answer
if you're
about
if you're interested in knowing more about Gaster, head over to Matt's game theory episode that he did about him, because he'll probably go into it
that. Yeah.
a lot more.
Like most of Random Encounters, there's some of this that's lore accurate, some of it's the fan theory, and some of it that just needs to fit into the song. So, combination, but there's definitely some real stuff in there that makes sense if you watch or play the game. 5?
Right. From Serial Man.
Serial Man.
Yet I stay determined. You putting your head down and crumpling formulas are not a sign of determination. I beg to differ.
Say that doesn't. Yeah, that's not necessarily true. You can do that, but then go back to work. So it's
That's
like,
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the failing
It's-
process that requires
yeah,
determination.
you will always fall. It's whether or not you get back up.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I hadn't ever thought about the clash of the words and what was happening on screen sometimes of being like ironic feeling. So called out appropriately. So that probably is a funny thing that I hadn't locked onto until somebody said it. Now I can't watch this video the same way ever again. There you go. Good
It's
job.
like
Way to go, Serial Man.
can't look away in Doki Doki, but she totally looks away right
Can't
then.
look away. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say this entire musical was filmed without lip sync because obviously Gaster had no mouth in that mask to move.
Yeah.
So it's interesting the timing that comes out when you're like, I'm just telling the story visually. I didn't have it in mind on set. I mean, like, you have it in mind on set, but not that close. I don't know. It's fun.
What do we got in the chat right now?
Chris World wants to know, why did you choose to do a duet version of this song?
I was going to say I didn't really choose to. I think Peter and Sparrow really thought it would sound good together, and they're right. It does sound really good together. They're the first ones I think to mention, and maybe it was also because at some point I think we questioned who would do the vocals for it. Mm-hmm. Because obviously if you're not seeing anybody singing, you could kind of switch, you could even write the song from a different perspective if you wanted to. So I think there was discussion about whether, Gaster should sing it, who should be Gaster, whether Frisk could have been the one singing and change the words. And that kind of continued to build into we have a couple really talented voices available who would make this sound really good in different ways. What happens as a duet, to blur them together and kind of get the best of both worlds. And that's obviously what did happen. The duet is really pretty. So, and it's still up. You can go find that, I think.
I know people that's like their favorite version of this song, which I understand because duets in general are just, they're fun. Harmonies are fun.
Yeah.
And we don't tend to do a lot of like harmonizing with ourselves, like if there's just a single character singing. But
yeah. Yeah, weirdly, musical theater for us often means like one character at a time, so that you can get like the story and the words, or a bunch of characters all saying their own thing, which doesn't necessarily get harmonized either, because now they're all talking over each other. Not too many times we just have a couple characters all agreeing and singing the same thing at the same time. So
it's true.
Yeah, weird that we only have them arguing or taking their turn.
I mean, I feel like we can find places where they agree.
More
in this
often
context.
recently, like. I feel like every time you do like the Mr. Hop songs, I feel like you've ended up harmonizing parts of it and stuff like that. So, and you and I harmonized, I think, for parts of Ice Cream Man.
Yep.
And
I was on the Sally Face musical. We did a bunch of harmonizing throughout the chorus and
the C+ shanty.
Yes.
has pirate harmonizing. You probably can't tell because they're pirates, but
the
they're
amazing
there.
harmonies in Amay is in Danger.
Oh, that one's so pretty. Yeah, you're right. That one's got really lush harmonizing. Pitfall Harry's entrance is harmonized.
Who's that?
No one cared, but it was a thing.
Pot and Sanders asked, which shot from the original shoot made it into the final musical? Do you remember?
I feel like I went and looked back for it recently, and I couldn't actually identify it. So I'm not sure that I've just maybe made that up or was remembering in my head.
If Sparrow changed her hair,
Yeah, it wasn't.
I would
Sparrow
assume
shot.
it would be a Gaster shot.
I was trying to. I feel
Yeah,
like
but
it was something to do with the
Some
sheet.
sort of close up or.
I always believed it was one of the shots with the machine and the sheet on it. But her hair never seems to change during those. So, like I said, I might be wrong.
It's an urban legend.
Ooh.
Yeah, it might be. The thing is, Gaster pretty much only shows up in shots with Frisk in the original.
Gotcha.
There's like no shots of just him. So I'm actually surprised nobody's asked about like, so what did you cut? No one seems curious why we refilmed an entire musical. And I'm like, that's kind of mind blowing to me. Like,
Now
isn't that
I'm
like
curious.
the most like
So-
weirdly like, how could you delete an entire musical's worth of footage and
They
start
wanted to
from
keep
scratch?
it vague and not know.
Okay, no, now I'm really curious.
Explain,
Because I don't think you
explain.
ever told me.
We didn't have a good concept going in, so I think the original pitch for this musical, determined to the end, was seeing Frisk kind of wandering around, exploring things, and like the ghost of Gaster, like watching over her shoulder and stuff. There was no like time shifting. There was no like weird edits of like 2 dimensions at once and stuff like that. And so it was just really moody, kind of creepy, had almost a horror vibe to it. But I think that's where, like, because we didn't go far enough, we got to the editing room with it, and we're like, it's boring. It's just flippin' boring to watch somebody just kind of stand places and somebody else just singing behind them. It was just weird. And it was distressing to be like, I don't want to put up something that just feels weird, because every comment that we'd be reading on today's live stream, like 5 years later, would be like, why did you not give them anything to do? Why did nothing happen? Why does he stand there ominously, but nothing happens? And that gave rise to, there's got to be something more interesting we could have done with this entire project than just put up somebody singing and somebody looking around confused. It didn't make sense, and I don't know why I thought it would. I think the horror element wasn't there that I thought it might
The
have.
concept of it sounds cool. The concept of like exploring an abandoned place while the ghost of somebody else
Yeah.
is creeping around behind
And with a
you,
bigger
like,
set, maybe that would have.
maybe I
worked.
feel like the ghost would have to be doing something to make it interesting. Because
Yeah.
I agree. The just standing around singing part is I think what makes it.
It was awkward. It was just awkward. And like that mask didn't have great visibility. It was foggy in there and stuff. So like even though you can see through it, Peter didn't like, he couldn't have chased somebody around very
No.
effectively and stuff.
I remember like trying to get like. He would, need to sit down in a chair or something between takes, and we would all like guide him to the chair and be like, "Oh, no, there you go. That's where it is."
Yeah.
So-
So, if anybody was interested about all the deleted footage, it's mostly Gaster haunting this girl, but it doesn't really feel threatening. It's just strange. And that's where I came back to them with a pitch of, what if there were 2 stories going on at the same time? You're seeing the exact same scene, but they're doing different things with it, and it feels more like a flash of time. And we see things being interacted with in one way and then another way, and we cut, and it gets interesting. And visually, I think it works so much better than somebody standing there just saying, way more interesting.
I think so too.
Are we
It's upside down.
doing more comments?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm on to number 4 from Monkey the Mooch. Monkey the Mooch. I just like to say that name. It low-key hurts a little to see that poor tape utterly demolished and to know that a good chunk of people won't even know what it was. I'm not even old, y'all. Yeah, VHS tapes. I never thought about how quickly they were going to fall out of, like, the public, what do you call it, comprehension?
They lasted a long
Recognition?
They
time.
did.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, technically, still, I think most people could identify one.
I think
Like 40
I,
years
was, I
now?
think they're gonna have a longer lasting shelf life than something like DVD and Blu-ray had, because like from VHS to DVD and Blu-ray, I feel like is more time than people just stream stuff now.
Yeah,
Like
that's
Yeah.
true.
they still sell Blu-rays and DVDs, but like I know, like you go to the store, like
Mhm.
Walmart's section is like a shelf now. Like
Yeah.
people don't buy physical media anymore.
Yeah, which is kind of sad because I still kind of like it, but yeah,
Was that the Titanic video that got destroyed, or was that a?
Yes.
It was okay.
That's another copy of. We
It's
actually have them
fine
downstairs.
then. Nobody
couple, I
needs a
think.
2 VHS version of Titanic.
That's the running gag, right? Is
Yeah.
that every time we have to destroy a VHS tape, it's a copy of Titanic.
Yeah. I mean, James Cameron, he made enough money on those movies.
And it comes with 2 of them.
It does. They had to come on, like, the movie's too big. You have to have 2 VHS tapes for it. So, yeah.
I was
Alright.
thinking that VHSs, I think, are still more common knowledge than floppies. Because I know, like, if I ask my little sister,
Yeah.
who is 8 years younger than me,
Mm-hmm.
if I ask her about a VHS, she knows what that is. If I ask her what a floppy is, she goes, oh, it's the thing the save icon looks like.
She's never used a floppy disk?
No.
Really?
Floppy disks.
I would think, especially in your house, because your family wasn't on the cutting edge of
No,
technology
we
either.
definitely weren't.
So I would assume that you guys had things like floppy disks lingering a little longer than.
Yeah, but I think we did a fairly decent purge of the floppy disks when we moved to our new house, which was about when she was about 3.
Oh.
The great floppy disk purge.
No! I was trying to figure out if I still have my floppy disks at home.
They're
Like,
significantly less floppy than the actual
yeah,
floppy
right?
disks.
true,
I'm
it's
like,
true.
these
The old
ones are
Apple
like-
II discs that are like...
Yeah.
We have some of those downstairs.
Yeah, waiting for that beautiful day when like we need a floppy disk for a musical. Video games aren't using floppy
I
disks.
mean, we
often
might have put
enough.
them on set for like Web of Lies.
Yeah, I feel like FNAF is about the right time. Like these like Bite of 87 kind of things. Like, hey, a big old floppy disk could work for that.
I'm sorry. I'm noticing that the chat is currently discussing whether the "you wouldn't know what this is" thing was about the VHSs or Titanic.
You wouldn't know what this is was about the VHS because they don't explicitly mention Titanic at all in this comic.
I don't either, but I'm also like shocked at the idea that people don't know what Titanic is. Like,
Okay, that's fair.
The ship or the movie?
Both maybe, because like when do kids learn about the ship Titanic at this point? Like, does it come up in history class? It's
I
kinda
imagine it doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a one-time thing.
It's not like
it's not a
it's
very impactful
notable
historical
in
event.
history, but it's not like they didn't change the world. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
war or.
Yeah.
All right, I just need everyone in the chat to tell me if they know about both the ship Titanic and the movie Titanic. I would make it a poll, but I can't under this
Yes,
account.
I'm gonna
so-
assume most of you, if not all of you, are aware of what was it, the USS Titanic? Is that what the
I think it was
HMS
the
Titanic?
SMS, HMS.
I think it's the HMS.
Okay,
the
whatever
ship
it was.
of dreams.
The unsinkable ship.
Oh, the RMS. Sorry.
RMS. Okay.
Mm.
Either way, I assume that that's still common enough just because we use it as like a phrase for, I don't know. But yeah, there is a movie from what, the 90s? Like early
97?
90s? Oh, late 90s.
Yeah, 97.
Had a pretty big budget and kind of put Leonardo DiCaprio on the board, I feel like.
It
Totally.
was the highest grossing movie for
Ever
until
for a while,
Avatar
right?
dethroned it, I think.
Yeah.
I appreciate Jamie McQueen, whose first response didn't tell me whether they knew anything about either one. It just said, "It has been 84 years," which tells me everything I need
That's
to
how
know.
that's how the young generation knows Titanic now. That meme.
It does seem like most people know both. So
Okay. Yeah. It is weird because I'm like, I don't feel like there's a good reason to teach it in schools or anything. But it is like, here's a disaster of a situation that a lot of people died from. Let's talk about it if you want to talk about creepy.
It's like the Hindenburg.
Lots
They
of
don't
people
talk about
dying
that either.
Yeah, it's true. And yet it's
Sure.
kind of like people know, oh yeah, this is why blimps aren't a thing now. Zeppelins.
Except the Goodyear
Sorry.
one.
Yeah, Zeppelins.
Goodyear's all about them. All right, comment number 3 from King Toad. King Toad! Toad! Why is Frisk just grabbing and touching stuff? It's like she didn't get a script, so she just started touching things out of curiosity.
Okay, so she didn't get a script. That's true. So we'll say that.
Nobody
part.
did.
we've talked about how much of this music was done like on the fly and how much it was like sped through. And it's amazing that it turned out as fantastic as it did for the like lack of pointers and like ideas going into everything. So having been there on set, it pretty much was shot by shot being like, okay, you're gonna go here and what can you be doing in this corner? Maybe you can be doing this. That'll be interesting. Go for it.
I mean, just to reiterate, the first cut of the video, she didn't do anything really. She just kind of looked at stuff and like wandered around the room. So
It's like an experimental film.
yeah, it was. It felt like an art film. So part of the pitch for redoing it all was that she had to have specific things that were opposite of whatever Gaster was doing so that we could cut between them and it'd look good. So that included things like move that wire so that when we cut to him and the wire is completely still, it's all the freakier that it goes back and forth and it's moving and it's not and things like that. Or move it just a little bit in his shot. So it like freaks people out that like, why is the wire rocking just a little bit? But no one's touched it except her in the future. What's going on? Whoa! So anyway, that's why she has to touch things. Also, honestly, I think Sparrow found her own business to do on set as well sometimes. It was like, what can I do in this room? This box looks fun to pick up and carry. So every so often, if you're on a shoot with Miss Bird, you understand that sometimes the environment is interactable. She will create something from nothing. Mm-hmm. So a healthy mix, I think, of purposely looking for things and also letting her just exist in the space. Do we have a... What are we on to? 2? 3? 3.
2.
3, right?
Did I read 3?
Oh, you
did.
read 3.
You're right. Sorry.
Oh,
I saw there are 3 boxes left, but we're on comment number 2.
Spoiler alert, there's a bonus one. From a tired emo, which might be me.
I'm sorry.
Aren't they all tired?
Is this the hidden lab in Snowden or the true lab in Alfie's lab?
We have an Undertale fan here.
True. I don't know what they're asking.
I believe you just
I think
earlier
I already,
said it was
explained.
the true lab.
Yeah, this is supposed to be the true
Because
lab.
the secret lab you said was
It's
Stanzas?
Yeah, it's literally in his house, or in his garage. I don't know. Either way, it's like not as. It's weird because I realized we filmed this all in one room, which is like the secret lab. The secret lab would be like one room. The true lab is like, it's an actual building.
Well, we probably didn't have an actual...
We didn't have an
gigantic
actual building, so for the purpose of this, Gaster would have worked out of the true lab, and we see Gaster working here. So
Maybe it's
the
just
true
one
lab.
room of his true lab.
I'm sorry for like any spoilers about Undertale that I feel like I've been just kind of dropping. It's a good game. Go play it. Go enjoy it. And you have to play like all the way through the like the.
I feel
true
like these
ending.
are like barely spoilers because it's like he's such an Easter egg.
Gaster
And hidden stuff. So it's like you're spoiling something that's really hidden and not so much like main plot.
You get a little bit more about him if you get to the true lab. Like that stuff is just built into the game. Gaster himself, you're probably not going to encounter. Like he is really hard to get anything more concrete than just writings about him in the game. Wah. Wow.
Since we kind of explained what the original shoot was,
Yeah.
Rebecca Skillcroft wanted to know if we ever planned at any point to have the characters interact with each other.
No.
Probably not after that original shoot.
No, I don't think so. Like I said, even in the original, I don't think she ever actually sees him. I can't remember any shot where she like turns around and is actually like,
I feel like
it's Gaster.
that idea would be hard to convey unless you actually like did some sort of special effect over him to make him look more ghostly, because people would probably watch it and be like, why is he just creeping Brenda the whole time?
Yeah, and then she just notices.
Yeah, she doesn't ever see him.
Yeah, and definitely from like a canon standpoint, Gaster is not physically in her realm, I feel like, in the game. Like, he disappeared ages ago into, like, a subspace thing or just straight up died. I don't remember how they describe it, but there's no reason that she should be there at the same time with him unless he's kind of an apparition of some sort. So, yeah, I don't think they were ever going to interact.
Okay.
Maybe they should have, though. Don't know.
Maybe.
Don't know. I like the video the way it is, so I'm going to say no.
In terms of a very deep and detailed question that I'm sure the answer is what equation? Leaf Hoppery asked, did you have a reason for the equation that you used on the paper?
That paper was just a math book, right?
I think it was. I think we just literally found some math homework and we're like, this looks advanced enough. I wish I could tell you, like, maybe I'd have to go back and watch the video and could tell then if it was a specific, like, formula or it was, like, a certain concept. Like, I feel like it was probably described someplace in text of, like, oh, the triangulation of the something, quantum mechanics of something. And I don't remember what
It
it
was
was.
like about wormholes or something.
I feel like it had some sort of astrophysics nature to it or something. But
I would bet that in true Hollywood tradition, we used something that looked good and didn't care what it actually meant.
yeah, probably. The answer is 0, obviously. I don't think I've seen anybody in the comments be like, I did this
Let me
computation.
solve
and-
that for me.
yeah.
Well, it's probably because that book that you pulled it from was from like 1970 or
Probably.
something.
Yeah. Like you just calculated the mass of air or something. Wow. It'd be volume because it's a gas, right? Can it have mass as well if it's a gas? I don't. Physics.
Welcome to our TED Talk on physics and science with your instructor, the guy who doesn't know much about science.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Y'all can leave smarter.
I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't be able to give a TED Talk about science or physics either. So
No,
my
that's like a
goodness.
nightmare.
I can't find who said it, so I apologize in advance for not being able to shout you out. But they asked about our beard cameo in this particular musical. Not about where it is. They found it, but they wanted to know how we decided to have such a. I think they used the word cheeky beard cameo.
So if you've never seen the beard in this musical and you just watched it, hopefully you saw him. He's part of a message that spoils the ending of a musical that now everybody knows the ending of. In fact, it's like meme worthy enough to be like no one's afraid of spoiling anymore. But at the time, this came out like a month before the musical, and even when people decoded the message, they didn't really believe that it could possibly be legit. It sounded too crazy, which made it all the funnier when it actually happened. And people are like, that Undertale musical from like a month ago totally spelled it out in detail what was going to happen, and I didn't see that coming. So what was the question?
What made you decide to do
Why
that?
we would do that?
Yes.
It just sounded fun. We didn't think people would really believe it, even if they like figured it out. The beard, cameo in there though was just like, we need a spot for the beard, and instead of doing the Gaster thing of like the beard is creeping on them somewhere, it actually seemed like a good opportunity to like hide a beard icon someplace in the lab. So yeah.
It is, I think, one of the harder to find beards. I mean,
You think so?
I don't know. One day I want to go through and rank the beard sightings
Oh.
and be like, what's like the S tier you have to have like super good eyes for? Because like obviously there's things like
Granny.
the Better and Granny
Uh-huh.
and Blood and Tears that all of those beard cameos are like super hard. But I think this one is still like you have to maybe pause that shot to actually be sure you saw him.
Maybe. He looks like a wingding, to be honest. Like, that's the
Yeah.
reason I think we stuck him in there, is because it was like, they're so weird, these little symbols and stuff, like hands pointing and buildings or whatever. It's like, the beard is a good one. Should I read our number one comment?
I think you should.
All right. The number one comment is from Turtleface.
Turtle.
I really wish they had made the Frisk sections more serious, then this could be a really chilling song. Yeah, I guess eventually we did get to answering this a little bit. There is a rejected version of this where Frisk is a lot more serious.
I
There's
mean, the song
way less
itself
going on.
is chilling anyway. Like,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Spotify is for. You want chilling? Go play this on Spotify.
I think also like we constantly walk a line of like how much creep we actually want to give you.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely in later years, I think we've leaned more into the creep, like with things like Phasmophobia and Mr. Hop and like things
This
like
came
that.
out
Like,
after Franbo, though.
Tingle.
It did.
Yeah, like Finding Mr. Midnight, I think, layered into the creep a lot harder in this one.
I thought that was just going to go by and no one was going to notice that.
Nope, it took me a second, but I noticed. Yeah, but I still feel like this was early days enough that like we didn't want to do FNAF like as a creepy thing. We put puppets in, and I think we still like in general if we can
And we
make it
chainsawed
humorous,
people
and we chainsawed
to death. Burned them alive.
But like we did Ice Cream Man, and we made it like a jazzy like
It's true.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Like
traditionally, we're not a creepy channel.
we like to have fun, so if we can inject humor somewhere, I think 9 times out of 10 we're going to inject the humor in, unless we're like no. Like, we're super in on this creepy idea. We just need to roll with it. Like,
Yeah, so I don't disagree necessarily that I know that there are several people that find it distracting that Frisk is like, and this is not how I see Frisk as a character in the game either. Like, Frisk honestly has like no emotions. I think that's supposed to play toward either being like really compassionate or kind of crazy and murders all the monsters. Like, it can go either way. They want Frisk to have kind of a blank slate for however you're going to play the game. So us putting that much like playfulness behind Frisk for the video doesn't fit that well with the game at all. I'll just be honest about that. So yeah, there's a fair point. And I think that's a good example of, we don't always pull comments that just pat ourselves on the back and be like, wow, you guys did the greatest job in the world with this. Sometimes really good comments come in the form of some form of criticism of somebody being like, I think it would have been better like this. So don't be afraid to give your opinions. They're fine. They're valid even. Now let's read a different comment.
Now let's read a comment that I think does pat ourselves on the back. This is our bonus comment from Cat Pet Cujo, and it's like a freaking novel.
All right.
Well, you pulled the comments, so
It's story time then.
I know it's been 4 years since this video was uploaded, but I just need to say it.
So this was left in 2020.
2020, yeah.
2020, okay.
So then yet 2 more years.
I think this is the best Undertale fan song on the internet. When I got on the internet for the first time,
Yeah,
wow.
apparently.
I
don't know how old this person is.
I found y'all through a FNAF musical with Markiplier and MetBat.
Hey!
Multiple times have I found myself getting into a fandom because of you guys. When I came across this one, I was introduced to Undertale. I never heard of it until I watched this musical. I never really did get into it until this video came into my recommendations again about a year ago. I fell in love with the game and then became a nerd about it. When I look back at this video, I realize how much effort you put into these videos. I love everything about them. You all always have made me smile whenever I see a video of yours. Thank you so much for everything you have done for YouTube.
That is such a glowing comment. But the thing that really jumps out to me is that we helped provide a gateway for them to get into a community. And I think I've seen that comment left by other people.
We generally try to do that. Like, we try to get people into the games that maybe don't know about them. I mean, like, not every game we do that for, but we still at least try to present it in a flattering, fun way that's like, oh, I'll try that game.
Yeah. There's always an opportunity to elevate, a game or to celebrate a game. It's going to be one or the other. If the game is already celebrated, then we want to be in on the party with you guys. And if the game isn't particularly, we want to find a way to elevate it. And here's a good example of doing both. Fortnite was already a completely celebrated game. People were all about it, except for the people that weren't. Some of us were not good at it, and it didn't see the appeal, and we're kind of getting driven crazy by everybody's obsession with it. And so us doing a counter song about Fortnite and somehow both acknowledging, yeah, this game isn't for everyone, and also celebrating that, like, it has a lot of cool things in it and we're just not good at it. You can do both. So I think this comment's really fun, if nothing else, then because it describes how somebody used random encounters to help get into an area where they can make friends and learn about characters and do stuff like that. And I think that's great. I hope you guys have had that experience too at some point, or you're actively doing it with other people that are coming into your community.
I don't know. That was such a nice commentary.
It's really
It made
nice.
me feel
It's
really
really
good.
nice. Yeah, and we don't usually get comments like, that long from anybody.
No, but,
so that's an unusual one.
But, we are always in the comments, and I do always, like, when someone leaves me something like that, I want to catch it. I want to tell them thank you. I want to tell them how much they just made my day, even though they're busy telling me how much, like, I made theirs.
Mm-hmm.
It's reciprocal. It's a nice community here of, like, sharing games and sharing music and sharing, like, as much cool things as possible with each other, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just appreciate it.
Yeah. So, thank you all for your comments. I guess that was all of them. All 11 of them.
Do we have any last minute ones from our chat?
We have about 10 minutes left, so like we have time if there's something we haven't answered yet that you guys really wanted to answer. I know you guys are stuck talking about Titanic, but we are still here.
It's good to know they all know Titanic. That's good, at least.
Near, far, wherever they are, they all know Titanic.
We did have a question from Kellyanna that was, if you decided to remake this musical, who would you choose to cast now? Which is a really difficult question to ask in general, because I think our original casts of musicals always get kind of frozen in my head as like, well, those are the people that belong there.
That's
like,
the cast,
right.
yeah.
I don't sit around being like, well, now that I can update it and make it better, let's do something else. Because, like, honestly, I don't often think we can make them better.
I mean, we do recasts that are definitely better. Like, Casey is great as Knuckles as opposed to
it's true.
So and like me as Eggman is better than having, no offense, Mikey come in for the Knuckles rap and the Eggman
Tricked by the
ones.
Eggman.
It's suited for that musical.
I feel tricked by the Eggman though. Like, who's this guy? Is that
fine.
even Eggman? Yeah. I think one easy, quick substitution I'd make is I would probably ask Oreo to come be Frisk, which is weird because Frisk doesn't even sing in this, so I maybe would have to do a duet at that point. But she has been playing Chris in our Deltarune musicals. We've got 2 of them so far with her, and she does a great job. And Chris feels like basically the equivalent of Frisk in Undertale. So that to me is just a really obvious, easy, like, zoop, put her in.
Yeah, although I like making Deltarune separate. I like having sort of a dividing line where it's like they're different games. Letting them bleed over too much feels I don't know, somewhat of a disservice to each of them.
So who would you substitute, Gwen? Is it Gwen?
Nobody.
Yes, for the role of a small child that never speaks, I'm perfect.
For the role of a child who plays around with everything, that's not bad for Gwen.
It would be fun, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of like...
You at this point have too much of a reputation on the channel, so I would almost feel like it's weird to put you in that role because it's like, that's just Gwen. Yeah. Which honestly, Sparrow had the same thing. Like, people already had seen Sparrow in so many other things. That nobody's gonna look and be like, "Oh yeah, that's Frisk." It's like, that's Miss Bird. She's Miss Birding all over this video.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly might sit there and be like, who could we get as a nice guest star? Because like, it's not that any of our like regulars wouldn't be good at it as it, but like they have roles in my head that they're already really attached to, and like I wouldn't ask Katie to do it because she'd do a good job, but Katie already has like a lane that I'm like, she's mustache girl. She gets to be like snarky and funny and like over the top, and Frisk doesn't strike me as over the top, you know? Like,
okay, but hear me out. Adriana, being probably one of our smallest cast members, actually could create especially if you're doing this where they're both on screen at the same time, but you're going to get a height dynamic that might actually be interesting because, you know, Frisk is like a kid in a land of monsters. So it kind of makes sense that like part of what makes Undertale so charming is how disarming Frisk is, and all these like hideous beasts and, you know, creatures that are like, oh, she said she'd be my friend. Like, or he, it's unclear. Frisk is whatever you want Frisk to be. They are a really like fun, sweet character that somehow take the fight out of everyone that they encounter. So in some ways, finding somebody who feels fun and sweet, but also like they're not prepared to just go to battle with all these creatures, they're going to befriend them. Adriana's not a bad choice for that. Yeah.
It's true. I hadn't gotten to her in my head, but she would be really good.
We haven't talked about replacing Gaster like at all.
So you could have a really good height difference between Frisk and Gaster if you get like Kevin.
True.
To be
I was
Gaster.
thinking Devin.
I was like, Kevin or Devin?
This song.
Yeah. In fact, I'm wearing a shirt today that was designed by our friend Devin. And he designed another one for Determined to the End. That's why I'm wearing this today. And we never actually put it up on any of our stores or anything. We weren't sure if it was something we could get past basically the legal teams. But we have a finished design for a Determined to the End shirt that we never have offered anybody. We'll see. Maybe in the future we can. But he went through several revisions with me on it and stuff like that. And he was really excited because he really likes the song too. It's one of those like spooky kind of bangers that's like emotionally charged. Devin likes those.
Is it really terrible now that I actually want to bring both Devin and Kevin in to record this song? Because I just realized how good both of them would sound doing a version of this.
Like, it's not weird at all.
They both have fantastic voices, especially for these like really bombastic, like stage sounding almost songs. And they'd both be so good.
I was trying to remember if Devin has ever sang this song for us, because I know it's one of his favorites. And he sang a couple Random Encounter songs over the years for like, you know, like karaoke things or events and stuff like that.
What did he do for our last? We brought him in to sing something on our last birthday.
He did the sea shanty, I think.
The sea shanty.
Yeah.
Oh, which he also killed at. So, sorry, they're just both too good at things, and they can do whatever they want in my book.
Yeah, and obviously there are guest stars too, but it'd just feel weird to put like, you know, Mark in a mask or something. Like, Mark, do you want to come wear this mask and then sing a song? It's like, just dub it over, man. Just dub it, and somebody else will play it. I was thinking Matt Pat could be fun for the lore of it, but again, it's like almost a waste to have a guest star that, you know, they're not going to get to emote at all. I don't know. If you guys have recommendations, feel free to leave them in the chat.
It's true. seen any further questions.
Okay.
It feels weird because we still technically have 4 minutes in our hour.
This just went by a little faster than normal. I don't know. Like,
I feel like usually we're racing the clock on that like list of 10 comments and be like, quick, get them all in before that hour is up. But
yeah, it sure seems like it. Well, that's okay. You know what? We do one of these every month.
We do.
Usually on a Tuesday. And who knows what the options will be next time. What were the other options? Well, My Own Little Nightmare. I'm surprised that people didn't choose that one for
Melon
comments.
Crew. I know you were there and I know you were trying, but I really thought that you guys were going to get that one through.
Yeah. Surprising to me.
Yeah, sorry, I will bring up, I think
It was the Sea Shanty and Don't Starve.
That's right. So the way the suggestions are currently going is I have a list of all the musicals that haven't gotten a comment stream yet, or a comments video back when we used to do like dedicated videos on the main channel.
Yeah.
And I just randomized them. So there is a list of 4 random musicals that end up getting thrown up there. Every once in a while, like maybe there should be a theme. Like in December, there might be like all the Christmas musicals that haven't gotten their comment streams yet, or something like that. But you'll get a list of 4 random musicals next month to do another one of these comment streams, and hopefully at least one of them will be a favorite of yours, and we'll have another good hour hanging out and talking about it, and generally being goofy like we do.
Yo, Don't Starve jogged my memory. The other day I did a search for random encounters genre on Google, and I wanted to see like what are we described as on the internet. And it was funny because like Google quickly broke it down. I don't know how, but they kind of went song by song that like had been released, and I was like, all right, alt indie, alt rock, like it was a bunch of like weird stuff like that. I got to Don't Starve the musical, and it was like children's music. And I was like, hey, wait, what?
It seems weird that the children's song is like, everywhere I go, I'm starving.
I mean, there are worse songs probably, but I was still a little like, wait a second. Like, somebody's like not picking up any of the irony of like some of these. I was thinking about like Baldi's Big Zoo again. I'm pretty sure that one was listed as like children's music. And I'm like, might sound like, but it's like a Weird Al version of a kid's song. It's like, when you have creatures with guns and abominations from hell, I'm like, this is not children's music, and someone needs to think a little. This is machine learning at its best, isn't it?
Well, I was just trying to figure out if it was machine learning, because I know we choose at least 1 to 2 genres for each song when we put it through our distributor.
Yeah.
So now I want to go back and look at those and be like, did we?
I don't think we chose children's song. No.
Really? Because Baldi's Big Zoo, I could see us doing that.
Is a second genre maybe?
Yeah. Like not
I'm pretty sure we still list it as like pop or something, but like not Don't Starve.
I'm gonna check.
We do not list anything as children's music. It's always like pop, rock, jazz. They don't give you show tune for some reason. That's just not a genre apparently. There's no such thing as musical theater in the world according to our music distribution platforms. Don't get it, but that's the case.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Did we have anybody recommending any guests before we sign off today?
I did not see any.
I assume they got buzzed about some of the names we threw out there, though.
Yeah. I have seen people asking about videos that are upcoming, so I thought I would go ahead and run down. We don't have a video going up on the main channel this Friday. We are, as we said in a previous video, not always going to be posting on Fridays, but we will be here on Replayed on Friday to be gaming and hanging out with you guys at 5 o'clock, as usual.
More Kirby.
Kirby. We're almost done with Kirby. We're getting close to the end.
See.
We are working on our next musical, which we will give you a hint for on Friday.
No hints today.
Are counting down the days to our Battle Royale, which will be, I think, in 20 days exactly, if I remember my count correctly.
Wow. I was actually thinking about it the other day. I'm like, I have to start putting together like the trailers and the promos, and we have to come back to start doing the extra videos every week, doing the like recaps, because that's the thing we do after like people kill half the musicals and stuff. Is like we have to come in and like talk about them and stuff. So
I have to give you access to the round 1 file so you guys can make your predictions. I already made mine, and it was very hard. I did not enjoy it. So we'll see how that goes.
It's gonna be interesting.
But that will go live on May 2nd, which means right now, if you want to, is the perfect time to be rewatching every single Random Encounters musical in preparation so that you can vote for your very, very favorites and be confident in your answers. There are playlists on the Random Encounters channel, both one that's just every musical ever, and there's also one that's broken down into 4 different weeks so that you can watch them a little bit more slowly and pace yourself. But it's up to you.
Don't pace yourself.
Don't face
Nah,
yourself.
why would I do
Just
that?
gung ho.
Marathon it's only like 70 hours, okay? It's not actually 70 hours, right?
It's 148 videos. On
Yeah, they're
average, they're like 3
5
minutes. So, but then you have a couple like the
fine.
FNAF and Phoenix
It's
Wright that are a little
Just
longer.
skip school for a couple days.
It's
Don't go to
fine.
work for a while.
Or
It's fine.
don't do that because Battle Royale won't start until May 2nd. So
All
you
right.
have time.
You got time. You got time.
Have time.
Y'all good. You got time.
And I think that's all the
All the announcements for today?
I think so.
Yeah. If you want to back us on Patreon or buy merch, it's in the description below. Some of those shirts and stuff going to disappear probably in the next month. So just put it out there, you know, no pressure. You guys are supporting us just by watching the videos, and thank you for doing that. Hit the like button. Let YouTube know that we showed up and we read some comments together today, had some fun, talked a little bit about the version of this musical that you're never going to see. I don't even think I can put it up, so I'm sorry. You're going to have to watch the Brony Song 2's rejected version instead. It's almost the same video. What are we... anything else? That was it? That's it? It's time for lunch?
Really, that's
I haven't had lunch yet.
lunch.
Well,
Yeah, and I am working on a musical today, so
It's true.
I am. It's getting close. Scheduling with people and all that fun stuff. So, thank you again, and we'll catch you guys on Friday for Replayed at 5 o'clock right here on this channel.
That's right.
Beard salute! Woo!